So after another hectic weekend in the Championship, we are back for another episode of the Championship Roundup to go over all the drama that went on over the weekend. We got a lot of talking points to go over today, and as always, get all your thoughts in the comments down below as to what you made of your team's performance. We got some good debates going last time, and I'm interested to see what you guys made of this weekend. Before we do hop into any action though, I will include your guys' score predictions on screen now, so fair play to all of you who did get one of your score predictions correct. I had a decent weekend in terms of my predictions. I got a couple of them right. The Wycombe and QPR games managed to call, and there were a couple others that I was quite close with, so not too bad going from me. And if we also turn our attention briefly to the prediction league, as you can see to the side of me, it is still Jake Mady who does lead the way, so he's up now on 40 points, so he's had an absolute stormer in terms of predictions for the start of the season. If you want to get yourselves involved in the prediction league, then make sure to tune into Friday's videos and get your score predictions in the comments down below. But guys, if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and without any further ado, let's hop into this weekend's action. And so starting out with Friday night's game, that saw Huddersfield beating Forest by 1-0. The pressure continues to pile upon Sabri Lamucci. We thought that this would be a big game in each side's seasons. Both of them had lost both games coming into this one, neither side having scored, but it was Huddersfield who left with all 3 points in this one. With the whole feeling of the game, it did have that sort of 1-goal feel to it, so whoever was going to score first, you had the feeling was always going to go on to win. Huddersfield, for my view, did get a little bit fortunate 40 seconds in not to be down to 10 men. Jonathan Hogg going in with a crunching tackle. It was sort of a 50-50, but his studs were up and it looked like a real painful one for Harry Arter there, so definitely got away with one, although you could argue that for Forest later in the match got away with a second bookable offence. And Forest did make changes for this one, you know. So far things just haven't quite been clicking for them. New boy Scott McKenna and Harry Arter both came into the starting 11 for it, and they had a few chances in the first half. Ben Hamer, I thought, actually had a really good game. You know, we've been quite critical of Ben Hamer on the channel over the last year or so, but he had the top game in this one. Great save he made from Amiobi's curling effort, and a good save made from Mbiso as well. But that real moment of quality from Huddersfield came in the second half. It was a beautifully worked goal. We all thought that this sort of new brand of football would take a little bit of time for Huddersfield to really click up into gear, obviously going from the Cowleys to Carlos Corberan. But the acrobatical finish from Fraser Campbell was just sublime, wasn't it? A goal fitting to win any football match there, I think it's fair to say. They probably should have wrapped it up later on. Diakabi had a great chance, but Samba made a good save for Forest. The question I now ask to Forest fans is, what is your view on Sabri Lamucci? Because it's not just a poor start to the season, it's a continuation from last season. Since February, Nottingham Forest have played 19 matches and won just 3 of them in the league. We do have an international break that's coming up pretty soon as well. We always see normally the first managerial casualty of the league made in that international break. So Forest fans, I'd love to get your views on it down below. And then to the first early kickoff we had, it was Watford who took the spoils from this one, beating Luton by 1-0. Joe Pedro's first half goal was the only thing to separate the two sides. However, as you can see by the match stats there, it was Watford who had the better of this one. Luton's best chance probably came partway through the first half. Cornick and Collins linked up well. Collins smashed that effort onto the crossbar, and that was probably Luton's best chance. If they had took the lead from there, they may have made it a little bit difficult for Watford. But some great work from Simmer down the left hand side, pulls his ball back into João Pedro, who had already looked quite lively for this one, slots in to make it 1-0. Some interesting points from Watford for this one. Saar was involved. If they do manage to keep hold of him and he gets a full season in the Championship, I mean, he showed flashes in this one, but when he gets fully up and going and fully fit again, he has all the potential to absolutely rip it up. Troy Deeney was also involved. He got off the bench later on in this one as well. So things for Watford are slowly starting to fall into place for them in terms of key players returning, and it looks like they do now have the chances to keep hold of those players. And by all accounts, it's been a decent start to the season for Watford. That's now 3 consecutive clean sheets they've kept in the Championship. For Luton though, disappointing how they didn't really take the game to Watford as much as I think they were capable of. They were quite flat for this one, I think they'd admit, and Watford in the end had it quite comfortable. Next up to the second early kickoff, we then had Swansea beating Wycombe by 2-0. Realistically, this could have been 4 or 5 for Swansea. If it wasn't for Allsop in net for Wycombe, it really could have been a repeat of the Blackburn game. Swansea, for the first, I'd say, sort of 35 minutes, were in complete control of this one, playing Luton around, and in that time they could have had several goals. Nice opening one though, great work from Jake Bidwell, who was playing so high up in that first half. Like, his average position, he was basically playing as a left winger, and with how Swansea looked to stretch the pitch, Wycombe completely couldn't deal with those balls coming in from wide areas. Poor defending, really, you have to say, to let the ball go through so many for AU to get on the end of it to make it 1. Same could be said for the second goal as well. It was a nice little bit of link up between AU and Jamal Lowe, who linked up quite well throughout this match, I thought. Gibbs White, another impressive performance from him. He was pulling the strings from midfield. He was unlucky not to get an assist or a goal for himself, I thought. And there was just poor decision making being made by Wycombe. They give the ball away in silly areas. They couldn't string a couple of passes together to get anything moving forward. In the last sort of like 5-10 minutes of the second half, they did come into it a little bit more swinging a few more balls into the box. And then, to be honest, in the second half, I thought that Swansea took their foot off the gas, really. And after what I have seen from Wycombe so far in the Championship, I do worry for them a little bit. In their last two matches against Swansea and against Blackburn, they've looked a complete cut apart. Their next game up against Luton is going to be very telling, but promising start to the season for Swansea, who have still yet to concede. Barnsley against Coventry ended as a goalless draw. Now, in my preview to this one, I said I thought there'd be goals in it. To be fair, both sides had chances. Ostegard had a really good chance for Coventry in the first half as he had a header come off the crossbar. I thought that Barnsley may be a little bit jaded from their midweek game against Chelsea, but they looked up for this one. Certainly in the second half, I thought they improved quite a bit. Cully Woodrow, a few chances fell his way. Coventry, when they went forward, they looked to use the outlets of the wing backs to put balls into the box, but Barnsley seemed to be able to deal with that threat a little bit better in the second half as they pressed forward a little bit more. One really standout performer from this one though, Cal McFadzean, in the heart of that defence for Coventry. He was on top of absolutely everything in that second half. You know, like we said before, Woodrow got into several dangerous positions, but he was coming in with blocks. He was organising that defence, being the vocal point of it. A real top performance from him, and he was one of the reasons why they ended up getting that point in the end, because of how he managed to handle those Barnsley wave of attacks coming forward in the second half. But good point for Coventry nonetheless. Next up then, we have Birmingham and Rotherham playing at a 1-1 draw at St Andrews. Now, Birmingham switched up their system a little bit. They went to a 4 in midfield to match Rotherham up for this one. Birmingham did have the ball in the back of that in the first half, but Harley Dean's header was ruled out for offside. In the end, the first goal coming in the 87th minute. So far this season, Rotherham have liked to leave their goals late in matches, and after Bella, with a bit of a clumsy foul, gave away a penalty. Sadler tucked away the penalty, brilliantly taken by the way, but that was to last just 3 minutes before Rotherham gave away a penalty of their own. Billy Jones this time with a clumsy tackle, I'd describe it as, once again, on Jeremy Bella. Both were fairly soft penalties, but would probably fall into that clumsy category, I'd say. And then Bella tucked away that penalty. Birmingham actually had a chance to go on and win it after that. A Neil Etheridge goal kick, which was launched up the pitch. Bella was an own goal, but couldn't quite get his finish right. In the end, Blackburn had a bit of an easy save to make, but finishing as a 1-1 draw. Second half, Birmingham probably did have the better of it, pressing on a little bit more. Ivan Sanchez and Bella caused a couple of problems for Rotherham, but they defended well. It did have the sort of low-scoring feel to it, but Rotherham so far, 4 points from their first 3 matches. I think they'll be happy with that. And then we had Reading beating Cardiff by 2-1. I shouldn't have backed against Reading in my prediction, should I, with the form they've started this season out with, but 2 losses from 2 home matches for Cardiff. Now, the first half didn't offer up all too much. It was the second half when this one really got going. Now, with no John Swift on the pitch, it was Elise who was on free kick duties. Brilliant ball swung into the box for Morrison to get on the end of to make it 1-0 to Reading. Morrison, by the way, a really underrated bit of business that Reading have done. I thought he was really good for them last season. Good leader at the back and pops up with those moments going forward as well. They then make it 2-0. Lucas Jow with a nice bit of footwork and composure with this goal. There was 3 or so Cardiff defenders closing him down. Kept his composure and cool though to slot it in. Lee Tomlin did get a goal back for Cardiff. Cardiff pushed forward a lot more after going 2-0 down, looking to get back into the game, but Reading held on well. Now, Reading, like we just mentioned, started the season absolutely brilliantly, got some great options going forward. However, the question now is, will they be able to keep up this momentum with some of the injuries they now have? So, John Swift picked up a hamstring injury in training. He's going to be out for some time. Andy Yadam looks like he's going to be missing quite a bit of time. Lucas Giles dislocated his shoulder as well. And they've also got Aruna who's out injured as well. So the injuries piling up for Reading, and obviously not come at a good time for them considering how well they started this season. You know, if they could have kept that squad fully fit for a full season, who's to say they couldn't have continued to ride on that momentum? But good 3 points for them nonetheless, just a shame about the injuries. And then after that we had Blackburn beating Derby by 4-0. Now, last week when Blackburn put 5 goals past Wycombe, we were all, you know, praising Blackburn for how clinical they were, but a lot of people were saying, oh, it was just Wycombe. Once again, more of the same from Blackburn in this one. The intensity when they go forward, Derby completely couldn't live with it, and we'll get on to talking about Derby in a second, but some of the goals that Blackburn scored, absolutely wonderful. The first, Tyrese Dolan once again getting on the score sheet after Ben Brereton's initial effort came off the post. He was in the right position for a tap-in. Some brilliant work he had for Bradley Johnson's second goal. Some unbelievable skills down that right wing, you know, how fast his feet are, and then to whip the ball in. We mentioned it last time, but the pace in that Blackburn attacking trio is absolutely frightening, but Bradley Johnson completely stole the show in this one. The first one, such a cleanly hit strike from outside the box. The second one got a deflection, but once again, he is that sort of player with that sort of quality. And in this sort of 4-3-3 system that Blackburn have been playing, Holtby and Johnson have been really quite underrated in that. You know, the 4-3's been grabbing all the headlines, but those two are very much the anchors that keep them ticking along. In terms of Derby though, similar situation with Forest. Philip Koku coming under a bit of pressure early on. It's a tough one for them at the moment because midfield seems like a real problem for them. There's no intensity. It's all too slow slow and ponderous. You know, Wayne Rooney, does he justify keeping his place in that squad at the moment? He looked poor again at the weekend. I think a lot of questions to be answered here. I mean, as you can see by the match stats there, Blackburn could have had even more than the 4 goals they got. They were absolutely rampant. Millwall up against Brentford. This one finished as a 1-1 draw. Both goals coming fairly early on into this one. It was Mason Bennett who absolutely left Pontus Jansson for dead in the build-up to the first goal. Pontus Jansson's boot actually came flying off, but some great trickery from him down the left-hand side, gets his ball in for Jed Wallace, and he bags his second goal in as many games. Brentford do get back into the game though from a penalty. It was quite similar to the one that Preston were given at Norwich from last weekend. It was a little push in the back. I think that referees are going to be looking out for that a little bit more often this season. And then Ivan Toney converted the penalty for his first goal in a Brentford shirt. Moving on into the second half, it was probably Millwall who had the better chances to go on and win this game. Romeo had an absolutely thumping effort which came back off the post, and Bradshaw had a good chance which he just dragged wide. Brentford also had a couple of openings though. De Silva looked lively from midfield. He had one effort which was blocked well and just flew over the crossbar. What was interesting from a Brentford point of view though was that we did see Said Benrahma feature for them in this one. He did get off the bench in the second half. You know, we questioned whether we'd ever see him play for Brentford again, obviously with a lot of speculation hanging over his head in regards to his future at the moment, but we'll wait to see how these final few weeks of the transfer window do evolve. But overall, I don't think that's a bad point for either side per se. Both sides could have won it. It was a very competitive one at the Den. After that, we then had Stoke beating North End by 1 goal. Like I said in my preview, there's probably only going to be 1 goal in this one. In the end, it was Stoke who took advantage of that. Now, the game-changing moment no doubt came in the first half with Tom Barkhuizen's red card. Up until that point, I thought the Preston were looking good. You know, we looked to match up Stoke. We went to a 3 at the back system. We were causing them all sorts of problems going forward. I thought we were pressing fairly well from midfield, and the game looked to be going in one direction. That was towards a Preston victory. However, Tom Barkhuizen's red card on 22 minutes completely flipped that on its head. I think that Stoke fans, a lot of what I've seen at least, have admitted that, listen, I don't think it was a red card. Both players, Morgan Fox and Tom Barkhuizen, have gone in to win the ball there. If anything, Tom Barkhuizen actually slips in the end. His studs weren't up or anything like that. I don't think it falls into the category of endangering an opponent or anything like that. I think that, you know, we're well within our rights to appeal that and for it to get overturned. So no doubt then going ahead and playing with 10 men, it changes the complexion of the game. Stoke from that point onwards looked to get on the ball a lot more and take the game to us. The goal we give away I was disappointed with because it was poor defending. Ben Davies is dragged out a little bit. John Obi Mikel's left with an acre of space and he's able to pick out Lee Gregory at the far post. Really nice ball from Obi Mikel, but poor from us. And then in the second half we weren't as competitive as I thought we could be. Stoke made advantage of that extra man and probably should have killed the game off on quite a few occasions. Sam Clucas had a good chance which was well saved by Rudd. Stephen Fletcher had an unbelievable chance. He was on a one-on-one with Rudd. He went for this sort of audacious Rabona finish which came off the crossbar. And I think with 10 men we just struggled to really muster up anything moving forward. So disappointing from that perspective, but Stoke were, you know, well worthy of their 3 points considering they had that extra man in the end. It's been a frustrating start to our time at Deepdale so far with the loss at Swansea and this one at Stoke, both by 1 goal margins. And then we had QPR playing at a 1-1 draw with Middlesbrough. Now it was Borough who took the lead. New signing Chuba Akpom getting on the score sheet on his debut. It was a brilliant corner whipped in by Paddington there. Nice bit of movement from Akpom as he's able to head into the bottom corner to make it 1. QPR then get back into the game though. It's Luke Amos with a chance which is parried back into the danger area by Bettinelli, and Asai Samuel, who looked one of QPR's real threats throughout this match, does get on the score sheet. Just managed to bundle it in under Bettinelli to make it 1-1. And then moving on to the second half, it probably was QPR who had the better of it and the better chances to go on and win this one. Tom Carroll smashed the post in the second half. That was probably the best chance and somehow didn't manage to find its way into the back of the net. Middlesbrough just about managed to scramble that one away from danger. But this Borough squad's still looking for their first win of the season, but it's very much a building process there where there have been positives, I think, to take from each of their games so far this season. They've been competitive in all of them, and I think this one will be a decent point against the QPR side, who are always a danger going forward. Hopping over into Sunday's games, we then had Bristol City beating Sheffield Wednesday by 2-0. Now this one very much being a game of two halves. Wednesday, the away side, actually started out fairly well. I like the balance that they've got in their midfield. We've mentioned this previously, but Luongo, Bannon and Izzy Brown all work with each other quite well. Luongo especially, really good first half performance, battling to win that ball back. That was part of Sheffield Wednesday's intensity for that half, and they had a fair few chances in this one. They created a couple of openings. It was Windass and Kachunga who were playing up front together. Both sides matched each other up in this one, playing 3 at the back, and obviously when you've got Windass and Kachunga playing together, it's sort of 2 willing runners to go in behind. And so there were a lot of positives to take from that one, but gradually as the second half went on, Bristol City improved and Wednesday just seemed to fall back a little bit more. They were a little bit more reserved in that second half, and in the end the second half pressure from Bristol City did pay off. It was a lovely cushioned header from Chris Martin to set up the opening goal from Tommy Rowe. Chris Martin got to be up there as one of the most effective target men in the league. We saw it last time round with that assist for the Naki Wells goal. This time another assist. He's just the sort of player that Derby coincidentally are missing at the moment. And then Bristol City managed to wrap things up later on. A lovely finish from Jamie Patterson in the 93rd minute makes it 2-0. And overall, good performance from Bristol City. Good second half from them. Wednesday weren't quite at it in that second half, especially not like they were in the first. And you've got to give Dean Holden plaudits for how well they've started the season there. You know, there were quite a few question marks over Bristol City coming into this season. I think a lot of people agreed generally that the recruitment there was very good. And it is still early days for Dean Holden, but there has been some question marks over is he the right man to get the best out of everyone. But from the way they've started, they've been a really effective team so far. And then to round things off, we have Bournemouth beating Norwich by 1-0. Now, at the start of the season, I'd say the vast majority of people have predicted Norwich to be above Bournemouth, but so far, and I know it's a very small sample size we're working with, just 3 games into this season, but it has been Bournemouth who have probably looked like the more complete side. It was a brilliant goal to open the scoring with Dan Juma with a fantastic turn on the edge of the box and then a pinpoint finish into the bottom corner to catch out Tim Krul. By that point, Bournemouth had been on top. They'd had several chances up until that moment in what was quite a strong first half of the Cherries. In the second half, Norwich tried to push forward a little bit more. It was another example of a game where they finished the match with 3 strikers on the pitch. It was another game where they were chasing it come the end of it, you know, similar to the one against Preston. They let it lit against Huddersfield as well. Norwich seemed to take a bit of time in matches to click up into get. It's also worth pointing out that neither Todd Cantwell or Emi Buendia were involved for Norwich in this one. We'll discuss the implications of that a little bit more in tomorrow's transfer room roundup video. And for Bournemouth, we also saw Josh King making an appearance as well. He got off the bench in the second half. He had a good chance to wrap things up in the second half, just couldn't quite take that. But having him back involved when I don't think a lot of Bournemouth fans thought he would be is a positive for them to take. 7 points from their first 3 matches. Good start for Bournemouth. Norwich still got a bit of work to do. But guys, they have it. There were all the matches that went on this weekend. As always, get all your thoughts in the comments down below as to what you made of your team's performance. In terms of my goal of the weekend, and we had some absolute crackers scored, I'm going to have to give it to Fraser Campbell for that acrobatical winner on Friday night against Nottingham Forest. Huddersfield's first goal of the season. It was an absolute belter. And then for my result of the weekend for 2 weeks in a row, it's going to go to Blackburn Rovers. Beating Derby 4-0 away from home. Deserve a lot of plaudits at the moment, Blackburn. But guys, there we have it. That will wrap it up for today. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and please do stick around and subscribe for a bit more regular Championship content. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.